Welcome back, everybody. Welcome into the Funsie podcast, a disc golf podcast. My name is Nathan. I'm here with the boys, and today we're joined by, if you've listened to or watched any ounce of disc golf content, you know today's guest, Hunter from Foundation Disc Golf, who I've been able to meet in person, but I haven't really gotten to talk and figure out who Hunter is kind of behind the scenes. So welcome in.
Yeah, happy to be here. I'm glad they agreed to my terms and conditions. I was like, look, I'll come on, but no Jay Millie, no Ben. I don't want to see them. I don't want to talk to them. So they were willing to work with me. It was great. Yeah. So I'm stoked to be here.
Super cool of them for that. We're here with Grant. No Jay Millie, no Ben, but really want to pick at Hunter's brand today and kind of figure out, like, a lot of times we focus on disc golf content. So, I mean, who better could we reference within the space than the man himself?
I can think of a few, but, I'm honored to be here.
So I guess we'll just kind of get right into it. Hunter, how would you compare Foundation's first videos to things that you're currently doing? And what do you feel like were some steps along the way that would allow you to get to the place that you currently are?
Yeah, our first videos suck. They're terrible. Mainly, what's funny is, our first videos are probably about what I'm capable of now as far as, the editing side goes. But, when we first started, it was me and my other business partner at that time, Zach, and Paul was the owner, but he was kind of behind the scenes at that point. So he was in some videos, but I was the one responsible for shooting, editing, all of that stuff. And I was not very good at it by any means, but it was just one of those things. At that point, no one was really putting out disc golf content. And so we felt like that was kind of our edge when it came to the retail side. And so we were like, all right, well, we're just going to keep throwing stuff out there. And I think that being early allowed us to build the audience and community that we have today, where I think that we really kind of slowly over time fallen into our niche. Because if you go back, we also, our most popular videos back then, even some of our more popular videos on the channel as of now, were all tutorial based. We were trying to do tips to do X, Y, and Z, because we took ourselves a lot more seriously as disc golfers back then. And then once we were able to bring in more creative people, if you will, on the editing, video side, all of that, being Connor and now Silas, that's what really allowed us to take what people liked about Foundation, which was, by that time pretty established. It's just you're hanging out with the guys playing disc golf type of a feel, and really put it into its own little package and niche that fit well and looked good, so that there wasn't all of a sudden the graphics and terrible video quality holding you back. So yeah.
Was content, and Grant, at any time, feel free to jump in, otherwise I'm just gonna keep rambling, but at any time did content feel like it was a necessity in the beginning, or was it just kind of the result because you are primarily a store and it's we have to make content so that we can get our discs in the people's eyes and they can know what's going on?
What's funny is at the very beginning, so 2019 is when Foundation started, and we were a retail store online, and we were basically looking at the world of retailers and being what makes us different? Because there was a lot of things we couldn't do that infinite discs and OTB discs were able to do, but us just starting out, we're well, we can't carry literally every disc on the face of the planet. That doesn't make sense. We don't have the money for that. We didn't have the time necessarily or the facilities with how Shopify worked back then to upload pictures of every single disc and do the dome levels and all of that. So we're okay, those are all things that separate them from us. What can we do to separate from them? And the one thing was content. I mean, back then you had practice rounds by pros weren't really a thing. You had Jomez coverage, and then you had in the bags and disc reviews. And that was pretty much all the disc golf content that was out there. And so we pretty quickly were this is where we can kind of separate ourselves. We had watched Braille skateboarding. We had watched, there wasn't as much golf. YouTube wasn't as big, but there was still other sports creators that we had watched, doing different things. Dude Perfect had done all sports golf battles. And so we saw all these different things, and we're just okay, well, what if we can pull those together and kind of put them into disc golf? And that was just one of several things that we did, but that was the one that really hung on. And so at the beginning, it was just like, okay, this is a way we can separate ourselves from the other retailers. And then come 2020 is when Brody Smith bought into the business. And when he bought in, he brought all this wealth of like social media as a business into Foundation. And so we were just kind of looking at it as like, we can do this as a way to, oh, look, Josh, welcome, man.
Oh, I thought you were respecting Hunter's wishes. That's actually not very cool of you.
Bro. Josh, you just ruined the clip of Hunter telling us this.
You just ruined intern.
More editing.
Whole thing. Anyways.
Sorry.
So Brody came in and brought in this whole like scope of like, you can use social media as a whole another leg of the business, another arm of the business. And how to monetize it, how to work with brands, how to actually use it to build a community and not just use it as like a marketing arm to be like, we need to sell discs, pull this. And that's really what shifted to where nowadays when people ask what I do, I just tell them I run a sports media company focused on disc golf that we sell the things we promote. So I view us as a media company first, a retailer second, where we started as a retailer first, a media company second, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I love it. Sorry, I was getting a text. I was curious about your doing disc golf content.
Yeah.
Obviously being the shop, I would imagine you kind of have to focus on disc golf content through that lens. And by that I mean you're probably not going to be making super inflammatory videos that are like, these are the 10 worst discs that came out this year, while you're trying to maintain relations with companies and even just you're trying to sell Frisbees. Can you kind of talk about making content through that lens?
Well, we have done that, and we've gotten in trouble before.
Yeah, I bet.
No, I think so. One of the things that we try to be very true to is like, if I don't like a disc, I will never be someone that lies to you and tells you I do. And that is very important because it's like it builds trust where, yes, we're a retail shop, but like I said, we're a media company first. But also as a retail shop, like if I told you the MD3 is awesome, right? But I told you every other disc is awesome, then why would you care what I say a disc is good or bad? But because I'm willing to tell you that I don't like the buzz doesn't fit well in my hand, it doesn't come out of my hand clean. I think it flies great when you can release it. But for whatever reason, it doesn't work well for me. For me personally, I love the MD3. There's trust built there because I'm willing to tell you what certain discs I don't like. And I also think it helps that we have a team where just because I don't like the buzz doesn't mean that, Silas or Trevor or Tyler might not like the buzz, right?
Totally.
So there has been content in the past where I think it was like we did a top 10 most overrated discs and one of the guys from manufacturer texted me and is like, hey, if you think this is so overrated, maybe I'll just sell them to someone else. And I was like, hey, sorry that came across that way. I was just trying to make a good blog post to drive some traffic, but it is now no longer on our site. Don't worry about that. And so we're in good standings with this manufacturer now. But it was just there was a little bit of a learning curve of when we were becoming a media company, but we were still a retailer. And also is there most overrated, I think that there's a lot of just negative connotation with that anyways. And is that really what we want to put out there? I think that's why a lot of people who have a bad taste for Foundation comes from that era of we were very critical of the Disc Golf Pro Tour, the PDGA, and all that without giving them their flowers also. And that just created this, we were in a mindset of just this gets a lot of attention. We're going to keep doing this. And it just kind of burned bridges we weren't trying to burn and stuff like that because we were so focused on views and clicks and all of that to where nowadays I think that what a lot of the PDGA and the Pro Tour do are awesome. I have a good relationship with most people at both those places. But I'm still want to be able to be critical of things that I need to be critical of. And so I think there's a much better balance to do that versus just critical. Well, that just comes across with of course Foundation's complaining, they complain about everything, which is the opposite side of that versus now we can give flowers all the time and talk about all the good stuff that's going on. So then when it's hey, I don't really like the time extension rule, which to be honest with you, I think my mind might have changed on it. But when I can say something like that, now again, it comes across more as okay, that's just Foundation's not just complaining to complain. They have basis for it. So really long way of saying, yeah, we sometimes tried creating content around this we didn't like.
Yeah. I just want to jump in and say two things. First of all, the reason I am here so late is because you guys are all in Eastern time, and it just always throws me off so much. And so I was like, 7:30, 7:30, 7:30. And then I look at my phone, and Zach was like, where are you guys? And I'm like, 6:30 for me. And I'm like, bro, frick.
Dude, just
so
move here. What are you doing?
That's true.
First of all, true.
Yeah,
and
do you
second
mind?
of all, it's funny hearing you say the critical thing, because we kind of just ran into something like that last week where, like, I'm pretty critical of people who just make disc golf content that's like, I'm just going to play 18 holes and kind of really do nothing or whatever. And I feel like everyone thinks that, like, I just hate that stuff. I don't hate that stuff. I just think if you're a content creator who's trying to grow, there's already a lot of that. You know, you get that from a lot of people. And I think it's very valuable, and it's a very, like, I mean, there's so many successful creators in the space who kind of just do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm critical of it because, like, if you want to grow, that's something you have to commit to for a very long time before I think you're going to see success from it, as well as it's just already pretty prevalent in the space. And so, like, I feel like we kind of ran into that probably mainly because of me last week, because you know, I'm very critical of stuff like that, but, like, at the end of the day, I think it's very valuable, and I think it's a very important thing in our sport. And I have a lot of opinions, and I need to do a better job of hyping stuff up as well, on top of just not being critical all of the time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny.
Yeah,
like, it's not. It's kind of like against your natural inclination of, like, we see something good, especially on social media. This is what it took me a long time to realize this. Of if I'm watching a piece of content and I enjoyed it, my natural inclination is never to leave a comment. I'll like it, or I might share it to a friend or something, but I'm never going to, like, tell the creator I enjoyed this, right? Versus if I'm watching something and they say something I don't like, I disagree with, my natural, like, everything in me is like, I need to go defend or come against what they're saying. Like, they don't know what they're talking about. Let me go. And so that's why comments are so negative, is just like, that's what we feel like we need to do. Like, our opinion doesn't feel like it needs to be heard until we hear someone say something that's, like, opposite of what we think. And so when we're creating content, it can also very quickly get into that, because a lot of, like, animosity and stuff that came out back in our Twitter days, if you will, was from people would come after us and we'd be responding, and people would see our response and not what, like, was initially said to stoke it. And then that just created this whole, like, snowball where we were just in this super critical era where we were just, like, always saying stuff. And it just came from defensiveness of, like, trying to. And so I've been trying to get better about, like, when I do see something good, saying it. And also, if I see something bad, not just being like, okay, well, this is the only time I'm going to comment. Like, that doesn't make sense. But it helps, like, as creators, I think, to view comments through that lens of, like, we'll have videos, and what's funny is we'll have some videos where the video's doing great, click-through rate's good, like to dislike ratio's great, everything's working, but all the comments hate it. And so we'll come in, and whoever was in that video is, like, all depressed. They're like, everyone hates me, whatever. And Trevor's always the first one to say, like, well, how's the video performing? And they're like, good. He's like, what's the like to dislike ratio? And they're like, 99%. He's like, then who cares what the comments say? Everyone likes the video. You're fine. Like, if everyone truly hated the video, then, like, there'd be way more dislikes. It might not be performing well because everyone's clicking off. The view duration would be down. It's like, it's just that the video is doing so good that there's more people that have the opportunity to dislike this video. So just ignore it. And that's something that's really hard year one, pretty easy year 7 to just, like, read a comment and be like, man, that guy's having a bad day. I feel bad for him, you know? And that's it.
Yeah.
So
I have a question for you, Hunter, based on that. Do
Yeah.
you... So I feel like sometimes in, like, videos, you guys almost, like, play characters, or you like, lean into bits and things like that.
yeah.
Does it ever make you feel, or any of the other guys make y'all feel weird about, like, or do you ever think about, this could be one video someone has seen of me, and, like, they think I'm this person, or they think I'm this way,
Oh
Does
yeah,
that make you feel like all people like hate me, or maybe I didn't like represent myself well, or do you just
all
not
the time.
really? Okay.
Yeah, no, it I've gotten better about it over the years because like if you've watched foundation videos, one of my things is like I am hyper competitive. That's not a bit. I just am. And I try to dial it back. And I've gotten, now that I'm almost 30 years old, I'm a lot better at dialing it back than I was when I was like 20. But there's still moments where like that side of me comes out, right? And when you're in, like, what's funny about our videos is like, if you've ever filmed with us, we pretty quickly kind of forget the camera's there. Like, I think that's kind of the beauty of our content to a certain extent is like we introduce the hole and then we just play disc golf. And the more people that are there, kind of the more we get to seep into that. And so what quickly happens is just like you're on a course with your best friends that are basically your brothers and you're just in a rules argument, right, over something that is pointless. And in that moment, like we're not making content. We're just like bantering back and forth just like you would with your brother. You know what I mean? But when that gets then edited up and you don't see that like within the next 5 minutes we're all just joking around and chopping it up because like walking to the next hole we're completely fine, and then you just see that super high tensions and then the whole video feels is really tense. It's not a inaccurate portrayal of that moment, but it just gets pulled out to where people start to think that's how I am and that's how Trevor is or that's how whoever is, but I'm the one that's a victim of it because I'm the one that's, I say victim, I do it to myself. I'm the one that's the most hyper competitive and put myself in that situation, right? To where people just think that's who I am all the time. And that used to really, really bother me. And I try to, there's certain videos where like we finish filming and I like get in the car and I'm like, people are not going to like me in that one. Like, because I didn't really like myself for that 2-minute segment, but I know that full 2-minute segment makes a great piece of content and that's going to be 10% of the video, even though it was like 1% of the 2-hour round. And so I like, no, I didn't like myself for those 2 minutes. People really aren't going to like me. And that used to really, really bother me because I was just like, dang, you know, that's not who I am. Like, me as a whole, that's not who I am. That's just one part of my character that I personally don't like, so I know you don't like. And so sometimes, yes, it bothers me when that's all people see and that's what people think. But other things, I'm like, I have enough content out there that if they like watch it and get to know me, like the people who are diehard fans of Foundation just know, kind of like, you know, I know my brother, I know Trevor, like I know their character flaws, right? But I also know everything that's good about them. And that's just every human has character flaws, right? So yeah, I think that it still bothers me to a certain extent, more from the standpoint of people think they know me, but they don't know me. And, you know, that's just part of the game you play with social media, I think.
So when you step away from a video and you feel like maybe you portrayed yourself a certain way, do you reference like Silas or Connor or someone and be like, hey, was that a good video? Or like, I'm sure they have like a pretty good feel for it and they kind of reinforce being like, yeah, it felt good. Because at least like for Joe, sometimes we'll finish recording something and he's like, that was useless. But I can kind of tell him like, no, I saw all the good parts of it and we can just for sure like a great video there.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we kind of know, like, it's weird. It's a weird line to ride because, like, as a business owner, you have to obviously worry about the culture and, you know, everything at the company because no one wants to walk into work and that be the culture nonstop as far as, like, just bickering, yelling at each other, tension. But as a content company, like, when you're out on the course and you have 5 minutes of that, you do know, like, oh, well, that's going to make a good piece of content. So there is, like, we've all been doing it for so long that when we get in the car, even if, like, we're a little upset about how something went down or, you know, there's apologies that have to be had of, like, hey, man, it's a stupid rules game. Like, who cares what a skip shot is, brother? We're all good, you know, and everything's fine. It's, like, at the same time, you also know in the back of your head, like, well, that is going to perform well. Like, everyone's going to hate me, but it's going to do really well. You know, and so there is also that where we've never there's might have been like a joke we've cut out just because we're a family friendly channel and we try to keep it that way. And the more we've gotten into it, we've really leaned into that. So there's probably been like some moments where we're like, hey, we need to cut that out. But we've never been like, hey, we need to cut that out for the sake of how we're portraying a person because of like, we're real and authentic. So the more you get to know us, the more you realize, like, oh, that's just foundation. Like, if you walk into our retail store, you're probably going to hear us, bickering over who ate the last Reese's in the back, because we're literally like, me, Silas, Connor, Trevor have all been working in the exact same office for 5 years now. Everyone's crossed 5 years. Trevor and I have been 6. Connor's almost at 6. Silas just crossed 5 years. We're brothers at this point. Like, we spend more time together than family. And so it's just, we know the little ins and outs of everyone. And so we argue like family too. And I think that's the part that doesn't always come through, is like how close we actually are to each other. And so we know where everyone's coming from. And it's not like you yelling at just your random coworker that you just walk into the office and y'all just start yelling at each other. It's like, holy crap, that person hates me, they suck. It comes from like a place of just like brotherly love to a certain extent, if that makes sense.
Speaking of brotherly love, you actually have a brother added to, not your brother, Trevor's brother, added to the team. And I feel like when I started watching videos where he was added in, that like, I feel like I was seeing the dynamic of everyone changing. And maybe y'all don't think so. Sajko, J. Millie, you can tell me what you think. I guess like my question is, have you seen any like dynamic changes and whatnot? I feel like even I've seen like changes in Silas as Tyler has come in as well.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think so. What's funny is we kind of talk. Now we have all these different pieces and we try to fit the puzzle together, because you have 5 personalities essentially on Foundation now, which is always the goal. When you're building a company that you want to outlast you can't be the only face, right? So it's like, well, Trevor and I can't be the only 2 people in Foundation videos forever. We've got to, as time goes on, introduce new personalities so that when I'm 50, I don't have to be doing a spin the wheel video and putting peanut butter on my hand and like, this sucks, right? And the sooner you can start that, the better. So we now have 5 personalities, and what's great about that is there's all these different dynamics within it. And Tyler is the like one who kind of brings out a lot of the more high energy, like at each other in a fun way, in my opinion. And I think that him and Silas have that like that Gen Z energy, if you will. We're all technically Gen Z, but the younger, right? Like, I'm on the borderline millennial, so I just don't get half the stuff they say. I'm starting to feel old, but it is what it is. So when you get them 2 together, you have this like almost a dog off a leash, just like let me loose type energy. And then if you have all of us in there, you have that kind of competing with the classic Foundation vibe, which is like, I might be that guy that kind of like let me off my leash, but I'm going up against a like, Connor, who's cool, calm, and collected, and it's like, I just want to have fun. So if you have me, Trevor, Connor, you're going to get a much more mellow, like, fun video. If you have all of us together, it's just going to be chaos. And then if you take any of us as individual pieces and throw us in with Tyler and Silas, you have this, like, you don't know what's going to happen, but it's going to be crazy type of situation. And so since October, we've kind of learned that, because Tyler fit right in immediately, because it was basically like we just duplicated Trevor and just made him a little more like antsy. That's where you get to Tyler, and so he fit in perfectly. It was just like it like immediately meshed with everyone, which was awesome. But we had to learn the dynamic of how everyone works, especially in content. And so now we're kind of hitting our stride where we understand this type of video, we need this type of energy. You get this type of energy with these people. So now we can take these people, put them into this type of video. That's going to make this video the best. And so now we've kind of started to learn that. And when we're deciding our weekly like video schedule and who's filming what and what personalities are in it, Trevor can really start to piece that together and be like, okay, we need to have Tyler and Silas into this one because chaos makes a Ripped Revenge video better. Okay, we need this team challenge is going to be better if it's me, Trevor, Connor, because needs to be more mellow, everyone rooting together type situation. So we've kind of started to learn that, and I think we'll only get better at it as time goes on.
Can you talk about the process of adding new personalities? Because I'm sure it's somewhat scary having like an unfamiliar face on screen where they have everything in theory that people will love. People just don't know that they love them yet.
Yeah. We've went through a lot of personalities at Foundation, and everyone is less scary than the last because now we know kind of how things go. It also helps going from 4 to 5 is nowhere near as big of a jump as going from 2 to 3 because it makes up a less percentage of the channel, if that makes sense. So the first personality change that ever happened that was the scariest was Zach left and moved to Dallas, and we brought in Trevor. And no one knew Trevor except for me. I had played college disc golf with him, and I was like, he's going to be great. Just can he be great in front of camera? I don't know. Like, it's a weird thing to all of a sudden you're in the woods just talking to a camera. And also, like, people loved Zach. So there was also the, like, that was the only one where we've truly just, like, replaced someone, right? Like, Zach's gone, Trevor's in. And that one, we just, like, accepted the fact of, like, there's going to be pushback. It's not going to be fun for a month or two, and we'll see where things go. And it actually was not even that long before people started to accept Trevor and really love the vibes Trevor brought. And then the Connor edition wasn't even like an intentional personality ad. It just was like he was behind the camera, and because we had filmed ourselves for so long, the cameraman kind of always talked because it was like me or it was Trevor, and we were passing the camera back and forth. So when Connor first came in, it was like almost a weird vibe because Trevor and I were so used to talking to the person behind the camera, but Connor was so much in the mindset of like, I'm filming this video, I'm not in this video, I don't exist here. And so slowly as time went on, that wall kind of broke. And I think that was like the key moment for Foundation as far as content goes, is because that wall breaking, in my opinion, is what sucks you, the viewer, in to feel like you're just playing with us. That's why we use one camera angle, even though obviously we have the crew. We could use 2 camera angles. We could use follow flight. We could do all of that. We intentionally choose not to because I think that instantly makes it feel like you are now watching disc golf versus feeling like you're a part of our round. And I think one of the big things is that our cameraman talks. And so that's how Connor kind of got added in, was we kind of sucked him into the video because we were constantly talking to him behind the camera. And it was like a weird thing where we're like, Connor. And he eventually was like, yes. And then once he started talking and people liked it, well, then it was like, well, they love him behind the camera so much. Why not let the guy into the videos? Like, he plays disc golf, he throws. And so that's how he got added in. And then once we had that, and then Silas was working in just I hired him because he was friends with me at church and he was just filling orders, but he was on the tech team at church, so I knew he was good at all that stuff, especially production stuff. And he was majoring in like broadcast at Liberty. So eventually we were just like, we've got another guy that can do this. When the 3 of us are going out, why don't we just bring him and let him film? And then it was the Foundation vibe at that point to be like, whoever's behind the camera talks. So slowly Silas came out of his shell, and it was copy paste. So those ones were not scary at all because it was basically like they got eased in from behind the camera. And then even Tyler wasn't that scary because he was on Trevor's channel. So people who like are really big Foundation fans had seen him play. Like, Trevor would battle him on his channel a few times. So once Tyler came in, some people were just like, who the heck's this guy? Other people were just like, oh, it's Trevor's brother. But we brought him in intentionally into like a full group video because like when there's so many of us, we have a tendency, any video we're in, to just kind of turn it into a Foundation video. And so because it's just like you have so many personalities. So when you have all of us and then you just added Tyler in, like one person wasn't going to change the whole group dynamic. It just was like, you are now a part of Foundation. It happens when we like film with pros too. Like if there's 4 of us and we just add in a Gannon Burr or Paul Kranz, they're just going to feel like they just fit in. And that's why sometimes like they don't fit that vibe, but like we're us, we're not going to change us. And so sometimes it just feels like a weird, like we're playing and a pro happens to be there. So the bigger we've gotten, it's been just like easier and easier to integrate personalities into the channel because it just slowly merges and meshes. And so it's also been less scary, I think, because we're not really worried about community pushback if they fit the vibe well.
Kind of going back pretty far-ish.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys have kind of paved the way in many different aspects. But I am wondering, it seems like from my perspective as a solo creator, decent sized audience or whatever, I read most of my comments. And so it's I feel like I have it different than you guys do because for the most part they're positive, but I get negative comments for sure. And it's definitely been a work in progress figuring out how to navigate that. it didn't bother me for forever. Then I went through this phase where it bothered me for like a couple months, and now I'm kind of like, whatever, I don't care anymore. But for you guys, like, I watch your videos, and so I'll see super toxic comments, and like also super toxic comments that get like thumbs up all the way to the top. And so the first thing I'm wondering is just like, how did you navigate that early? How do you navigate that now? And then also, like, just like recently, you know, with Tyler joining, I feel like I've seen some pretty heinous comments in regard to just Tyler. So, like, I don't know if you're comfortable sharing on that. Like, how have you guys handled that? And has Tyler handled it well? Or, you know, like, what's going on with that?
Yeah, I think, first off, I still read every comment on every piece of content we make. I probably shouldn't do that. We put a lot out there at this point. I guess I don't read every comment on Tour Life. If I'm not involved in it, I don't read it. But the ones where like I'm actively involved in the decision making on how the content's being made, you know, if I'm in the content, how we're being received, all of that, like anything that I have a say in how it's going, I read every single comment. And so at this point, I have such thick calluses because, you know, when enough people tell you suck at life, eventually those words start to just bounce off you, and it's like, you don't know me, I don't care. I just look for constructive criticism, because if it's just like someone comments and it's like, Hunter sucks, that's different than someone comments and is like, man, I really don't like when Hunter does blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, well, I can learn from that. If you just tell me I suck, I can't learn anything from that. And so from doing it for so long, like, I would say 99% of comments don't affect me. Like, they just, like, I read it and I'm just scrolling and just looking for, okay, what are people like saying? What is like in between the lines on all of this? What did people actually think of this video? What is good? What is bad? We tried something new in this video. Did anyone even notice? You know, whatever. And I think that's a similar thing for Trevor, who's also been in the trenches for a long time. Like, we've had everything you can imagine said to us and about us in the comments. So like it's pretty hard to offend us in the comments. Versus the guys who are newer to it, like Tyler got thrown into a 7-year built community, and just like overnight you have hundreds of thousands of people commenting whether they like you or dislike you. That's like, we got to be eased into this, right? Like, when Foundation started, we obviously had 0 followers. So like, you know, when we first started, the comments were really nice and slow. I could just read like 5 comments a day, and now you're just reading hundreds of comments all the time. So I think for him, it helped just kind of seeing how everyone else responded. And if he came in, we would have all already read. So we would sometimes, like, he'd walk in not even knowing that. I'd be like, hey, don't pay attention to the comments in the last video. Like, that's not how, like, the video's doing great. You know, the like-dislike ratio is great. You got like 3 loud people. You got to remember 60,000 people watched it. You got 3 loud people. Who cares what they said? Like, don't worry about that. So I think it helps having other people in there with you. But then there's also, you know, some constructive criticism to that of like, hey, if the same exact thing is getting said on every video for long enough, maybe we should adjust something. I don't know. I'm no pro at this, but like, maybe there's something to it. Now, I'm not talking about the people who, like, it's the same guy and he just goes and comments the exact same thing on every video. It's like, okay, you know, Joe Mama 58 hates us. Got it. But it's like when you see a consensus across a bunch of comments, across a bunch of videos, that's when you're like, hey, people don't like it when I get toxically competitive. I'm going to try my best not to do it. There's going to be times where I do. It is what it is. So there is like a little bit of a learning curve to it. But a lot of it is just, you just have to develop thick skin. You're putting stuff out there for people to be entertained. The majority of people are going to be entertained by that, but if people are ever going to genuinely like you for who you are, and if people are ever going to get to know you deep enough to form that opinion, then people are going to dislike you basically equally as hard. There's no way for you to have yourself out there enough for someone to genuinely like you that there's not also someone who genuinely dislikes you. If everyone just kind of is neutral towards you, that just means that you're not getting deep enough with them, in my opinion. You're just kind of like putting out this version of you want everyone to see. And what that also does is there's no realness there. There's no actual community. And so I think that's where, if you just try to adjust yourself to fit the box that it seems that everyone wants you to be in, all of a sudden you're just going to get burnt out because every day you go out there, you're going to be thinking of like all these things that are you that you can't be because you're trying to be this like vanilla version of yourself versus just, you know, yeah, if it's a really toxic thing, we got to work on and change. We work on it and change. But if it's just like, hey, you know, I don't like how loud Brody is when he talks. Well, okay, so be it. You know what I mean? Like that's fine. And it also helps too with having so many personalities that there's people that love Foundation and hate Brody. There's people that love Foundation and hate me. There's people that love Foundation and can't stand Tyler. And it's like they still love Foundation because there's so many different personalities in there that there's someone you're going to gel with. And I think that's also where it comes from is sometimes it's like in the battle series, if you're a big Connor fan and we're going Connor versus Tyler, you're not going to like Tyler in that video. Just like I didn't like Ricky Wysocki in 2016, 2017 because I'm a Paul fan. And if you're going against my boy, I'm not going to like you, right? Like that's just how that same type of thing works. So it also helps us to have all of these different personalities and all of them creating content that's kind of unique to them so you can find what you like within Foundation, if that makes sense.
Do you ever feel like people don't know what they like? Like, I feel like I've read comments on maybe y'all's videos, maybe Jay Millie's videos that are like hate comments about just like segments or certain things. And sometimes it's not always the case for sure, but sometimes I read them and I'm like, you think that, but actually like you're going to keep watching because they did this, or like you thought this video was more entertaining because Hunter was kind of acting like a jerk, even though you didn't like it and you're commenting about it. Like, it made the video more entertaining to you, probably. So probably, like, the statistics are going against what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's sometimes, like, a big one is when there are, like, arguments or toxicity, if you will, in the video. We never go out with, like, the goal of creating that. We are aware that, like, if you combine Ripped Revenge, Chiplocked, and Crazy Cat, if you combine like a bunch of different things to where none of the rules make sense and they all overlap and there's gonna be a rules, like we know walking out there, someone's getting fired up today. We're looking at each other like which one of us, you know, didn't have the right breakfast and they're gonna be the one that starts this whole thing. So there's some videos where we kind of know it's inevitable, but we never go out like preliminarily thinking like I'm coming after Connor today no matter what happens, right? But to your point, a video like that, there are a lot of times where like the comments really dislike it, but everything else says everyone loves this. And so again, we don't try to intentionally recreate that, but I think more for us where we are intentionally not giving people what they want is a lot of times in the higher produced side. You know, the drone footage, the drone flyovers of every hole, the follow flights, even the like continuous scorecard, the catch cam, stuff like that. Just because we have talked about it over and over, we've even tried some of it back in the day, and to us it just instantly makes it feel different than we want it to, and it makes it feel different. Like it puts this thing on where all of a sudden it feels like you're watching a piece of content when we're just trying to blend where you can sit down and relax and feel like you're hanging out with us. Yeah. And the second it gets too produced, it kind of snaps you out of that. And that's just not who we're trying to be. I also do like the fact that we have it in our back pocket where it's like the second we need to, we can do that. It's really easy for us to do that. It also allows us when we get into a situation like Imposter, all of a sudden for Imposter, the cameramen stop talking nearly as much. We use drone shots. We use multiple cameras. We do all of those things because we have the capability. And in that situation, we're making a reality show. So it needs to feel more like a show, less like you're hanging out with people. But I think that's more where it is we get some of those comments of just like, oh, I wish you had a catch cam so that blah, 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 blah. Or why don't y'all use the drone more for blah, 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 blah. And, like, that's the stuff where we're intentionally not doing it because people, I think they want it, but I don't think they would like how it felt if we did it all the time.
Yeah, I also think it has the benefit of, like you said with Imposter, the second you change anything or, like, up the production at all, people are like, oh, my gosh, like, wow. Yeah. This is the most insane thing I've ever seen. And
very true.
You know, for someone like me, like I try to go crazy on every single video. And if I were to like try to produce like a documentary series thing, like, yeah, I'd like to think that I could do a good enough job that people would notice a difference between like a regular video versus that video. But I don't think it'd be as stark of a reaction to, you know, like people, like, don't get me wrong, Imposter's amazing, and I think you guys killed it with that. But like, you know, I think that the reaction was much more amplified because it's from I'm just chilling with the homies watching them play disc golf versus, wow, like I'm about to cry because Brody got voted off. You know, like I think that there's a stark difference between those two things, and then you can also pull in a different audience who probably only watches Imposter versus you know, watching every single video that you guys put out. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like the content is important in your eyes, but it's almost like it serves as the vessel for people to be able to connect with you guys and see the reactions, see how you guys interact with one another, and just feel like it's a casual round of disc golf.
Yeah, we kind of exist to build a community almost more than anything else. Like, I think that the content we make, all of that is like to provide people with something that they can just unwind with at the end of the day, put on in front of their like kids and family, and just have fun. And like that's why we kind of solve everything for that. Of like what we exist for is to provide family friendly entertainment to people. And right now, like obviously our vessel within that is disc golf, but like that's why we exist, is this. And so that's kind of where the content comes from. And that's also where most of our decisions come from, you know, is like, that's why we do things the way we do. And the second we feel that we can better accomplish that by doing it a different way, we're going to do it a different way. It's just that right now, this is how we feel we can best accomplish that. And so, yeah.
I feel like for Imposter and stuff like Creator Cup, they're obviously like big pieces of content. Do you feel like you see enough of a difference of eyes and viewership and whatnot to where you're like, maybe we should do like higher production things every so often like that? I mean, obviously you're already doing it because you have those two things, but has there been thoughts or talks of like, what if we did this other series or this other thing?
Yeah. Creator Cup, we obviously, it's a lot of to be determined as far as like how we think it's going to go. And I think that Creator Cup is going to be an interesting one this year because we didn't pull out all the stops. So we didn't go full Imposter. We're trying to find, like, in my head, it's going to be an interesting one to find where it lives as far as on the scale of production goes, because to a certain extent, you want it to be still like everyone's having fun with, just have everyone's favorite creators in there, but also they're playing for $8,000. So like there's also this seriousness to it on the competitive side. So that one will be interesting. But to answer your like full question is like, yeah, we're definitely trying to do a little more of that. So we have Imposter. We have, I think the All-Star event is something that in the future we could do something more with, just making it like, because it's already, we have way more people in it. We do like skills challenge, distance, stuff like that. I think that's something where like we already kind of break out of the typical you're just hanging out with us feel. So I think we could up the production level on that to add in and add value to that video. The weird part is just like it's an all-star video, so like the premise of it doesn't exactly make sense. I think we might have to rebrand it a little bit, but that type of feel and idea, Creator Cup, and then the one we did like basically what we are doing with Creator Cup this year, where it's like, okay, let's just get it together, put it out to the audience, see the bunch of feedback, and then decide where we go with it as far as like, okay, do we go more casual or more produced? Like right now it's kind of in this nice middle section, and we're just trying to see what does our audience think before we decide where we go. What we did with that last year was Amazing Race. And the Amazing Race, we just did it, and we're like, we think we can do this. We think it can be something bigger. Let's see what happens here. And people really enjoyed it. So now this year, we're going to Charlotte for it, and we're going to film it in May. I don't know when it releases, but we're adding in an additional team. We're going to have cameramen with us instead of us filming ourselves, because I think that's going to be another thing that's really amps it up, and that can turn into a bigger, higher production. So the goal is eventually to have kind of like one a quarter. I think if I did more than one a quarter, our 2-man editing team would probably kill me. But for right now, one a quarter is kind of like, okay, this is where we put all the stops out and have the higher production, do more of a show type feel, and all of that. Because I do think that's something where, because we're one of the few like actual media companies within disc golf that isn't focused on coverage, we have the ability to do that, and I think that people really enjoy it. So while we're one of the only people that can do it, why not do it as much as possible? And so, yeah, I think the goal is to kind of get to like 4-ish of them in the next few years.
Quick diversion. Can you tell who edited a Foundation disc golf video if you look at it, or is it pretty much like
me?
Yeah, you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really? Like, what are some defining characteristics?
First, like 10 seconds. I don't know. Some of it's the color grade. Like, I know what Silas's color grade and Connor's color grade looks like. So if there's certain aspects where it's like, oh, I can immediately tell who did it. The graphics sometimes, more on the font choice. I know who likes which fonts a little bit more. And then, the nitty gritty, it really, some of it just depends on who has enough time to add in, but what they add in to it, you can see their humor come through. So, like, if it's an Office reference, that came from Connor 1,000% of the time. But, like, the little things that get added in, you can also tell from that. But a lot of it is just, like, I've seen both of their edits for so long that it's just, like, a feeling as soon as I open it, I know who edited it. That'd actually be a fun game if I could just, sit down, I get, like, 10 seconds from a video, and I have to guess who edited it. I feel like I'd be good at it, but I could be wrong.
Do it.
I think that would be fun.
That might be a piece of content coming soon.
FYI, I have about like 10 minutes left. I only say this because I'm the one who started recording, so
okay.
Perfect.
Well,
I
gotta go to work.
I have a small question. I feel like you guys have talked about it in your videos, and I'm sure it's something you think about, but like, you like try to keep matches, or you don't try to. Matches that are close perform better because people want it to be close and want to see it come down to the wire. I feel like there's been a handful of times, personally, as a viewer and as a creator as well, where you've been crushing Trevor or you've been crushing someone, and there's a really short putt you miss. And I get it. I miss them. But there's just been a few times where I'm like, he didn't do that intentionally, but I do feel like maybe he's like, I'll just go a little quicker on this one, and like if I miss it, it just makes the video better. Has there ever been times where you're like, oh man, I'm winning by 6 strokes, we're only 10 holes in, like, do I go a little quicker here? Or
the ego part of me wants to say so bad yes, like, oh yeah, that 5-footer, I missed that intentionally. No, if I could, like, if we're going head to head, me versus Trevor, and I could beat him by 10, that video underperforming is well worth the ability to have beat Trevor by 10. Pretty much. And I think Trevor would say the same thing, like 10 times out of 10. So, no, we're just that bad. That's just the. I do think there's moments where we lose focus because you're up by however much. So, you don't care about this putt, but it's never. If we're ever worried about retention, what we do is a secondary challenge appears.
Yeah.
So
Shoot
course conquest, we start playing. If we make a birdie, we get ice cream. What, like, that stuff is we're into a video and we're worried about retention. So if you ever hear a secondary goal, that's what we go to. But like, no, we've never. There's one video ever in the history of the channel that was somewhat faked, and the only reason was because it was a brand partnership. And they needed our name on the item that we got for the win. And so it was like, basically we had to pre-submit who was going to finish the video before we shot the video. And it was like, this is really weird and messed up. So we just like stacked it in that person's favor, so that when we went out there, we could just play and like they were gonna win. So from that standpoint,
imposter last year.
It was imposter last year. Yep. No,
Yep.
But that's literally in 7 years. That's the only one, and that one we also tried it to. We tried to make it like it wasn't a serious video where it wasn't. We didn't like throw a monthly match for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was just like this was the point of the video, and it's still just a good piece of content. But no, everything else, like if we're worried about retention tanking, we throw in some type of side challenge. We never. At least I never like intentionally missed a putt or anything like that. I would assume Trevor and them would give you the same answer, but
I didn't. Think
I wish
you
I could
had,
say yes.
I think the only reason I pinged on it is because I make my own videos, and it just like I don't know. Like I felt like I saw you like looking at the putt, and I was like, he's processing like right now that he's crushing whoever he's playing, and then you missed the putt.
I wish.
Whatever.
I wish.
I don't know. Like I just could see a world where you're not intentionally missing it, but you're putting yourself in a situation where you could miss it. Does that make sense?
I think you're giving me a lot more credit to my disc golf ability than I deserve. Because you think that I can control where my shot lands to be like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna leave this one like 35 short, so that like if I tried to do that, I'd freaking put it 2 feet by accident.
Not even that. More so like, for me, it's like I know the situation, at least right now, that works for me when I make a putt. And like instead I would just be like, oh, like I'm crushing, like I want it to be closer, I'll just take my time on this 15-footer and think about it too much because that's when I missed them. You know what I'm saying? I just thought maybe that was partially
I'm a worse putter when I rush things, and if I have a lead I will naturally start to rush things just because it's like I already ran you into the ground.
Like whatever.
Why am I going to stand over this 15-footer forever? So it probably just comes from that, where it's more just like I just rushed it because I was up by so much,
like
and it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I just had to ask. It's something I noticed.
No, for sure.
Uh-oh.
Well,
He
Ben
had a
was
question. Come on. He had 2 words.
Yeah, just to come to Ben's behalf, he texted in the group chat and ran into the same issue that I ran into, because he's typically East Coast, but because he's at Jonesboro, he's Central Time. So that's
very
why
fair.
He's late. Everybody listening.
Dude, yeah, I've been on the East Coast for 4 weeks, and I just completely forgot that Jonesboro was Central Time. We go to East Coast for 4 weeks, and then to come back for 2 weeks, I guess. Central. So that's my bad. But I do have a question, nonetheless. Dude Perfect. I mean, I feel like that's every kid's dream, to be one in a video, to go to their warehouse and hang out with the guys. I just want to hear more about like kind of that experience with the Dude Perfect video, and then 2, I guess working with them for your video, and then 3 just about the warehouse. I'm very, very, very curious. But that whole experience, just curious about all of that, because it's literally like a lot of people would love to do what you did.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so last year we went down there for the Trick Shot World Championship with Brody, and Trevor and I were there, and we were just supposed to just kind of like watch, and then like last second they were about to assign Brody teammates from just Dude Perfect employees, and he's like, I brought some people with me, can they just be my teammates? And so they were like, oh yeah, we don't care who's in the video, like sure. And so we got to like be in a video last year, but it was like they didn't mic us up. Trevor and I rotated back and forth, so it was just like it was a whole different experience than like this year. Going in, they were like, everyone is going to be a 2-man team, so like figure out who your 2-man team is. And originally Trevor and I were going down there, and we were just going to flip a coin, because we were like, this is too big of a decision to figure out which one of us is going to be. But then his wife ended up getting sick, so he had to come home after Disc South, and so then Tyler stayed with me, and I was like, Tyler, bro, you've been working here for a few months, you don't earn the right to have a coin flip, like I'm doing this, sorry.
That's
so
awesome.
It was just me. So this year was a different experience from the standpoint of like, I was actually a part of the video. I was mic'd up, the interviews I was a part of. It was funny because we were Team Brody Smith, so like there was no reason for me to be in that video at all. So that's why like every interview I just stood there and stared at the camera, because I'm like, you're not asking me a question, like I'm just his sidekick here. I think I said to the like interview camera like 2 words ever. But that was really cool. And the other thing was this year they actually provided on Thursday, which was it was Friday. It was the last day of the shoot. They were like, hey, if you don't make the finals, you can have our entire HQ to film whatever you want. And so the whole time I was like, Brody, like, I want you to win this thing, but like, do not get to the finals. Because like, then we can do whatever we want. Like, we'll be able to just like legit play disc golf across the whole Dude Perfect. Like, we could do everything. It'd be sick. And so there was like a little part of me that was always rooting for that. And then he makes the finals on Wednesday. So Thursday we have the whole day off, but they're filming stuff. And so we like texted their production team and we're like, hey, we made the finals, so we can't film on Friday because we're going to be gone all day with y'all. Is there any way we can still film? Because like that really sucks to not be able to film. And so they're like, hey, Thursday just come before everyone gets there, and yeah, y'all can like have free reign, go at it. And so we were like, sick, this is going to be insane. And so we showed up, but 90% of the warehouse was set up for that day's challenges. So they had the like plunger shot and they had the RC car thing set up. And so obviously we were like, well, we're still going to get a video and Dude Perfect. This is still awesome. But our idea went from extravagant down to how do we make the coolest video possible on a basketball court? Because that's basically what we've got. And so that's why, like, I saw some comments about that of just like, it was a little bit of an underwhelming video. And I was like, yeah, I agree. But it also like, you have the opportunity to film a video and Dude Perfect. You take what you get. You know what I mean? Like, if they give you the basketball court, you take the basketball court and you do whatever you can. So our whole video kind of blew up. The plan blew up in front of our face. And so we just, like, last second walked in and pivoted to that. And then, obviously, goal number 2 was how do you get the Dude Perfect guys into the video? Because, obviously, they're filming their video. They weren't even there until it's, like, our call time was like 8:45. Their call time was like 10:30 because it was like they had to do all of our shots before, and then they would walk in and it's just like, here we go, time to play. So we got this like charity putt idea came to our mind of like, hey, we should be able to get them for 5 seconds. Like there will be a break in the day where we can just be like, we've got a disc golf basket set up. If you make it, we'll donate money to charity. And that was our whole plan. And so we started it that morning because all of the other creators were just sitting there waiting. They showed up at 8:45. Everything started at 9. So we had 15-minute gap of just nothing. And so we were just like one after another. If anyone wants to, we got a disc golf basket. If you make it, $100 to charity. And so that's how we got all of them in. And then lunchtime, none of the Dude Perfect guys were there. So like we were like, we might not get them in the video at all. And like, that's fine. Still cool. But like really want to. So then lunchtime rolled around. And everyone like stopped for lunch, and so we just walked over and grabbed the disc golf basket, put it back out there. That's why it's at a different part of the court, also for them to putt, because that was hours later. And then we walked up to them and we're like, "Hey, would you be down to be a part of this?" And so that's how we got them in. So yeah, all in all, incredible. It was awesome. Not what we had hoped, but also like, I mean, can you really be picky and choosy if you get that opportunity? I didn't think so. So we just took what we had and ran with it.
That's awesome. Social media trailer is the thing that got me because the social media trailer made it look like it was going to be like the most epic thing with all these people. And then it was just you guys for the first half. And I was like, oh, they're just coming in to like make one putt.
Yeah.
But anyway, I have to go. I'm going to leave. Word of encouragement to you, Hunter. And you talked about this earlier, being a competitor. Being on the Creator Cup, I was like, and no spoilers, so I'll just say it like this. If I was drafting a team, you'd be high up on my list because I see you as like an ultimate competitor. Like I just feel like you
just block out all the disc golf skill necessary. And
well,
you're like,
see,
this guy's a psychopath.
You guys put yourself down too much. I think you and Trevor are both really talented. But also, yeah, I just feel like you have that dog in you. So with that said,
let's go.
I'm out.
Appreciate
you,
my
boy.
Bye, Grant.
Y'all need to give that guy a raise. I don't know what you're paying him.
Yeah, I know. Holding it down when two of the members are on Central Time.
Here, actually, I'm not leaving.
Well, we are changing the name of the podcast for him. We do have to have Hunter on again because I have so many questions here at this point, and with 4 members now, I love it. It's been a lot of really good questions, but I assume we're kind of wrapping up here. So one of the final questions that I have. Is there any aspect of you, Hunter, or Foundation that maybe people aren't aware of that you'd like listeners to take away from this conversation?
Oh, you could have sent me that one to prep for, beforehand.
That's a big dog one.
I think, first and foremost, our identity isn't in the content we make or anything like that. All of us, our identities in Jesus Christ and Him alone. And I think that sometimes that can get hidden by what we do, and shame on us for that. But I think that if you saw behind the scenes, you would have kind of a twofold feeling. One would be, these guys are the exact same people I watch on camera all the time. And then secondarily, you would see the more like tender-hearted brotherly love that we have for each other, of when someone walks in and they're having a bad day or they just got bad news or whatever. Like, none of that is on the camera ever, obviously, but you would get to see the support system that we have both here and with our warehouse crew of just like, it really does feel like a family. Like, when something goes wrong, one of the first people we text is each other. And I think that's something that says a lot about the character of everyone at Foundation. And I'm just honored to be a part of that. And I think that it's a really cool culture here. I think it's something where that side doesn't come through the camera nearly as often. And not that it necessarily should, because like I said, I don't think that is like good pieces of content per se, but when something goes wrong, we are there to support each other without a doubt. And I think that that's, something that a lot of people just don't see, even to the point where, like, if someone's family member's sick or wife is sick or something and they, need time away from work, obviously we give them as much time away as they need. But what's cool is that's not just like mine and Brody's decision of like, yeah, go on, but you also see everyone step in of like, how can we make sure everything runs smoothly so that they're not at home stressed about, a video is not going to get edited and uploaded, or like work. If something's going on in life that you need to go be at home for, work shouldn't even be remotely on your mind. And that's even happened for me, where I've needed to be home for something and everyone stepped up to where I've been able to have time to deal with whatever I'm going through and not have to think about work, which I feel like as a business owner is very rare to have a team that cares that much, that they're willing to either stay late, come in early, take on more responsibility, whatever it is. And yeah, I think that side just doesn't come through the camera nearly as often as maybe it should. But yeah.
Hunter, I think there were a lot of different ways that you could have taken that, and that one was very sweet. Unless the boys have any sort of closing thoughts. Dude, I'm fighting for my life right now. Unless the boys have any sort of like closing thoughts, I feel like that's probably a pretty good place to wrap it up. Like I said before, for sure I have to have Hunter on again just to ask more questions.
Anytime.
If he'll come on again. Two of the hosts showed up very late.
Yeah, do you mind?
No, anytime. And by anytime I mean maybe like 8:30, so that everyone's on the same page of when we're showing up.
Yeah, EST. Yep, that's so funny.
Sick. All right, thank you everyone for listening. Until next time, Funsie out.
Funsie. See ya. Funsie.